All right, CNT120, Chapter 1 Lab. We just completed the Layer 1 connection for the laptop here. We're going to move on to Layer 2. Now, we're going to start with, actually, Layer 2 is our network card. That's the easiest way to think of Layer 2. The device that's going to get us connection into the network. You know, send the actual data and receive the actual data from the network. So that's going to be our network card. So for this section, we're going to try to hook up the Harrisburg PC. So there's my Harrisburg PC. I'm going to go to the physical tab. I'm going to back out a level, so I'm out here in the office area. And where my Harrisburg PC is, I'm going to try to connect it into the box like I did the laptop. So I'm going to click on the PC, and what I'm going to find is there is no network card in here. These are only USB ports and RS-232. That is for, that's a serial port for console purposes, for console into routers and switches. So right now this PC does not have a NIC, so I cannot actually connect it in. So I'm going to use the exit key or escape key, escape key. That'll drop the patch cable there. What I actually have to do is I need to put a network card into this PC first. So I'm going to click on the Harrisburg PC so I can get a look at it. Here's actually the tower. If I scroll down a little bit, you'll see there's an empty slot here. There is no network card on this guy. So I'm going to power this thing off. So let me slide it over here. Okay, we're going to, here we are, here's our directions. We're going to power that off, and we're actually going to put a network card in it. So I'm going to hit the little button here. The power light goes off. Over on the left are different network cards I can put in. If I highlight some of these, that actually shows what they look like. We're going to look for the one that's PT host, network module, 1 copper fast Ethernet. That's what that shows there, 1 copper fast Ethernet. And I'm just going to drag that over and let it go into that hole. Then I will install that. And then I'm going to turn my laptop back, or excuse me, my desktop back on. I'll turn that back on. There's the power button. Okay, so I'm going to close that now. I'm going to go back to my physical tab, and I'm going to try to connect that into the network. So I'll close the PC. Now that we actually have a network card in, let's try our straight through cable again. We'll connect onto the PC. There's my fast Ethernet port. I'll click on that and I'll drag it up, and I can use Jack 2. We plug the laptop into 1. We'll plug the desktop into Jack 2. Now you'll notice that immediately gets a green link light, mainly because I'll go over into the closet. We already cabled in port 2. We did that previously. We cabled in that port 2 into the switch. So there already is a connection in the closet for it. I'm going to back out. Once I plug into that jack, has a connection already. Excellent. So now we have the layer 1 connection done here after we put the NIC in, which is layer 2. All right. So now that that is working, let's go back to the logical view out here, and we should see the desktop connected in. Again, if the link looks a little odd, just move the PC. It should snap into place. That happens sometimes. So I now have a link here for the PC after I put my network card in. Well, let's keep going. Let's actually look at some of the aspects of that network card. I can actually see some of what I need at the command prompt on that PC. So I'm going to open the Harrisburg PC. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to click, instead of the physical tab, I'm going to click the desktop tab. And this brings up a desktop that looks kind of like, I don't know, Windows 95, Windows 98, something like that. And we're going to open the command prompt here. You notice there's a bunch of different options of things we can do. We're going to open the command prompt, and we're going to run a command here, the ipconfig/all command. Now, we have to watch for typos. Something wrong will give it an error, but we're going to type ipconfig space/all. And again, here is the command syntax. There is a space there and then /all. I'm going to hit the enter key. What that's going to show is it's going to show all the configuration for this PC. This is showing me the Bluetooth connection. This is showing me that fast Ethernet connection. I'm going to hit the space bar to continue showing the rest of it. Here is that fast Ethernet connection. So now that the NIC is in, it's actually showing me information about that network card. Mainly if I look down through about the third line down here that says physical address. That is the actual address of this network card called the MAC address. We're gonna read about that soon. That's the MAC address. That's the address burnt into that NIC to identify this computer on the network. That MAC address is burned into the NIC, and it's something that devices like switches pay attention to, try to learn, oh, this MAC address is on this port. So when data comes into a switch, say from the internet, the switch goes, oh, you're going to that MAC address? I know where that is. That's on port 2 over here. I'm going to send you out port 2. I'm going to send this data out port 2, not any other port, because I know where that MAC address is. So this is the address identifying this computer, and it's actually burnt into it's coded into that NIC, and will identify this computer on a local network, for the devices plugged into that switch, if you will. All right, so while I'm here, I'm going to copy that configuration, that IP configuration from that Fast Ethernet NIC. I'm going to copy that and put that into a file that we're going to use to keep results from our lab. So on my laptop here, I'm actually going to launch. I'll do the Windows key here, and I'm going to start typing Notepad. And I'm going to open Notepad on my laptop to put my data into. Use either Notepad or text editor, whatever is on your laptop or PC. That is a real simple, very small file size text file that we use to keep our results in. We use this commonly in the lab room. Later on, you'll find out that if I put data into a text file, Notepad or text editor file, I can actually, with a little bit of cleaning up, take that data and put it back into routers and switches for configuration purposes. So we typically use Notepad or text editor for saving results from labs, because at times we can actually turn around and take those results back to the router or switch for configuration. So we don't typically use Word. If you have to use Microsoft Word, that's fine. But Notepad or text editor usually does the trick. All right. So while I'm here, I open a Notepad file, and I'm going to save it with a name something like 120 Chapter 1 Lab or something like that. So I'll do a file save as, and I'm going to point it to my documents, and I have a 120 folder, and I have a Chapter 1 Lab online. So I'm going to put it in there. And I'm going to give it a name like 120 Chapter 1 Lab. And I'm going to make sure that there's a .txt file extension. And there's already one here, so I'm going to keep it. If not, make sure you add one. That way, I'll save that. That way, when I submit it to D2L, D2L understands that it's a text file and not some sort of virus or anything. And it won't, give you an error when you try to load it. I'm going to put a note up here for myself that this is CNT120 Chapter 1 Lab. And then I'm going to put another note down here that this is my Layer 2 results, just to keep myself organized. That way I'll know what this output is. Now that I have that there, I'm going to copy in here, I want to copy the results of this IP config all command. And the main part I really want is this Fast Ethernet section right here, because it shows the MAC address. If you do all of that, that is fine. But I'm mainly going to zero in on this network card, this Fast Ethernet card, because I want to see that MAC address. So I'm going to highlight, I'm going to right click and copy. Right click and copy. This is where maybe having an external mouse is handy on your laptop. And then I'm going to right-click paste in here, and there is that Fast Ethernet results, mainly the MAC address that's showing the NIC is functioning. This Layer 2 connection is working. This Layer 2 is working on my device. I will save that updated text file so I don't lose it. And before I go any further, I will slide this out of the way, but I'm going to keep them handy. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to close this PC, and I might want to save this file before I get too much further. Now that I've done a couple changes to it, I think I'm going to put it in my 120 folder, and I'm going to put it in there, and I might put a little note on here for myself that this is like my working file. I'll just add a little name on the end as a working file, and that's just so I don't lose any progress in here, and if something were to power off, I could always pick up where I left off. All right, before we leave this, I'm going to have you take a peek at another device and look at its MAC address. This Harrisburg PC, if I look at my text file here, that MAC address ended in, A0B5. Okay, so let's look at this laptop. Desktop, command prompt, ipconfig/all. And I'll see this ends in BA5A or something like that. Yeah, these are unique. That way, each device has its own unique identifier, and the switch can get data to just that device and nothing else. If I keep going, I will notice that all of these have unique addresses on them, unique MAC addresses. All right, there's my layer 2 link or my layer 2 connection. In this case, it's my network card. And by looking at that MAC address on that PC, I see that this layer 2 link is functioning. And actually seeing that MAC address at the command prompt is proof that that network card, that NIC, is functioning in my network. We'll come back in the next section and look at layer 3.